Do you want a continuity of flowers going into August? I'm going to share my top 10 plants, which means that you will have flowers in August. Well, a lot of people can get flowers going for June and July, and they would have kept their plots going since March. Many people say to me, oh, I'm just running out of flowers in August. So I'm going to share with you my top 10 flowers that will keep your buckets filled with flowers going through that month too. This is acid Anthra, or Peacock Gladioli. It's a really great flower for August because it doesn't require a lot of prep. You put it straight into pots, it's bulbs, and I always have them in different parts of the garden, so they flower at slightly different times. Not that that matters, because the flowers actually emerge up the stems, so it's really flexible. It doesn't all appear all at once, they just keep on coming out and out and out. So if you need flowers throughout the entire month of August, then this is a really great bulb to plant and kind of forget about. The other great thing about this is that it has beautiful scent, and I think that's always a much appreciated quality in locally grown flowers. My second flower that is abundant in August to be growing is cosmos. I've got 4 varieties in this bed, and if you just keep cutting them, they will keep blooming. The advantage of this cosmos is it's got this beautiful flat faced flower, just like a big smile, and they're brilliant for arrangements. So I've got Purity in here. This is Ribenza. I've got Pop Socks in here, and this is Rose Piquete, which I've grown for the first time. So I always like to grow a new cosmos because I really love them. I start the seed off in March. I know a lot of people start it a lot later, but I start it off in a cold greenhouse, and then I've started just putting them in this bed all the time. And this Ribenza is actually self-seeded from last year, unbelievably, but they're a really abundant cut flower. I would highly recommend growing them because they're super easy to get, very long stems that you can use in bouquets and in things like pedestals. Well, my first 2 recommendations are bulbs and an annual. I'm now going to kind of recommend a few perennials for your cut flower garden because they just come back and back, and even when you look at them at the beginning of the year and think that's never going to grow again, before long they're taller. So this is bronze fennel. I grew it from seed years and years ago, and I absolutely adore it. It's what a florist would call a transitional flower. So these very open umbellifer heads, and it is yellow, Pantone colour of the year. Thank you, Latrice Eisman, for that. My favourite colour, but it does go this bronzy yellow, and it's just great for bouquets, great for big arrangements, great for having an airy kind of material, foliage that you don't have to plant again, and it just comes back year after year after year. So highly recommend bronze fennel. Number 4 is mint, and specifically apple mint. You need to find a friend with a bit and then put it in a bed, but put it in a contained bed, because the issue with this is not that you'll have too little, is that it will be rampant and just take over everywhere and you'll be ripping it out. So contained bed, but the scent from this is amazing. You can just keep cutting it. It does need some support, but it has these beautiful purple flowers on at the end of the season, which just says kind of the seasonal moment in the autumn. I love to use it for weddings. I love to use it for bouquets. Really versatile. That's what you want for any ingredient, really. But this is obviously perennial. I have had to clear out this bed because it can get a bit congested, but keep it in a bed, keep it managed, stake it up, and just keep cutting it, and it will give you these amazing blooms throughout June, July and August, where it starts to flower. So highly recommend apple mint. Number 5, classic ingredient for this time of year is hydrangea, and this is Hydrangea Annabelle. She's very pink, she's very frothy, but she can be toned down with other things, and I get really long stems because in all my herbaceous borders that I plant in my cut flower garden, I plant things quite close together, so the hydrangea has only got one place to go, and that's up. So these are huge long stems, and I just keep cutting and cutting. This is the the immature Annabelle, which will turn pink, and this is the very pink heads of Annabelle. The reason I like Annabelle is we're in the northwest of England. A lot of my other hydrangeas get checked by frost very late in the season. We keep on having these really late frosts. So when you get flowers on the stems that grow that year, then I know that I'm going to get these lovely hydrangea heads that I can use for bouquets or in arrangements. They're really, really versatile, so highly recommend Annabelle. Number 6, it's another bulb actually, and this is Galtonia. Now he's a bit big, but you could fit him in a really large bouquet or a pedestal, but I love these fairy bells, and they stand for a long time. So again, on timing. So the biggest issue I think for having a cut flower garden where you want to use the flowers for particular things is you don't want things to just flush and then be over. So this is stood. I actually like the fact that it's starting to form some bulbs underneath here. So although it will keep flowering up to this stem, but this is a really great bulb that will return, is perennial, and I'm seriously thinking about planting another big patch of them so that I can have some continuation by planting them in different parts of the garden. So if you've got some space, and this is the only issue with bulbs, they need to have some space, and they do occupy space. So I've overplanted mine here with alliums. So this whole bed, one of the cutting beds, the lockdown beds that we created last year, it has a whole succession of bulbs that come through. So it's a great idea if you're growing flowers for for your business, to have just this succession of things coming through. Number 7, can't believe we're at number 7 already. So it is Perennial Phlox, and you'll notice a pattern here in the flowers. The more that I grow, the more that I think that growing perennials is the way forward, with a mixture of annuals that you love. So what do you want in a cut flower? You want it to just thrive, be very little bother, and you want really beautiful long stems with amazing flowers on the end. So this is a great shape for putting in bouquets, and it just flowers its little socks off. So I've got an entire bed of it going through here. This is the plant that I am buying more of this year, and having beds with different colours, because there's a huge range of colours with phlox. And there's a local nursery near to us that has a lovely range of colours. So I'll be popping along there next week to get some more of this, because I didn't think it was going to go on my heavy clay, but it actually has. Number 8, Japanese anemones. These are great cut flowers, brilliant long stems, and they grow in shade. So this is one of the first beds that I put into my flower cutting gardens, and it was a shade bed because I've got a lot of big trees. We're right next to the towpath here on the canal, and this bed I grow heucheras and lots of anemones and hellebores, and they thrive in this shade, as well as some digitalis. But for now, in August, grow some Japanese anemones. They come in different colours. There's whites, there's a more saturated pink, but you will see that I grow in a colour palette. So for August, I've got a lot of these cool pinks and purples for going together, so that I can cut bouquets from lots and lots of areas of the garden. So number 9 is something that gives a little bit of movement and life and airiness. You always need these, and it's quite tricky to get it from a perennial because often they're the chunkier, stiffer step, but this is perennial scabiosa. I grow the annuals for pops of colour like the variety Black Cat, but this actually self-seeds on my solid clay. Can you believe it? So all I'm doing is looking out for the plants in the spring and then planting up other blocks of bed to have these amazing stems to cut from. And a great thing to have with a cut flower is a really nice neutral small head on these dancing stems and a seed pod that looks as beautiful, because they, you know, scabiosas, they do go over, and a beautiful seed pod, which incidentally will dry really well as well, and it's great for buttonholes. So what I'm looking for in a cut flower is versatility. I'm now looking for resilience given the weather that we've had, and I'm looking for shapes and textures that will add something to all of my arrangements, and this perennial scabiosa does the lot, to be honest. And number 10 is this girl. She's very big-headed, very heavy-headed, and isn't always practical for growing outside, truthfully, but sometimes you just have to grow something that you absolutely adore. Now, hydrangeas are just such a quintessentially brilliant cottage August flower, and one of the things that I've not mentioned in my top 10 recommendations is the fact that I want all of the things that I cut to kind of shout seasonality, and hydrangeas for me are July and August, you know, so highly recommend growing this white hydrangea. Starts off green, goes to white, just keeps pumping flowers out, which is what you want if you have a cut flower garden. You want an abundance of flowers to keep producing, and you want your flowers to feel and look very, very seasonal. So I've got a spider joining me now. So number 10, white hydrangea. So what are your favourite flowers that mean that you can have a good range to cut in August? I'd love to know what they are. Please feel free to comment. But that's it for this video. See you in the next one.